Something was crying in the old house. Alani heard it first. She was standing in the yard, helping her dad unload boxes from the big moving truck. When the sound floated through the evening air, it was soft, so soft she almost missed it, like a kitten mewing somewhere far away. "Dad," she whispered, tugging on her father's shirt. "Do you hear that?" Malik stopped carrying the heavy box and listened. The wind moved through the tall grass. A bird called out from somewhere, but that was all. "Hear what, sweetie?" he asked. "That crying sound. From over there." Alani pointed at the house next door. The house looked wrong, even in the fading sunlight. Anyone could see it had been forgotten. The wooden walls were gray and cracked. Windows were broken, with jagged glass teeth pointing up. The roof sagged in the middle, like an old horse's back. Weeds grew so tall around it that they reached the windows. "Nobody lives there, honey," her mother Nora said, walking up behind them. "That place has been empty for a long time." But Alani was sure. She heard something sad. Inside that dark house, a little boy named Cairo pressed himself against the cold floor. His heart hammered in his chest. The loud sound from the truck outside scared him so much his whole body shook. New people, strangers, danger. He squeezed his eyes shut and covered his ears with his dirty hands. Cairo was only 7 years old, but he looked smaller, much smaller. His clothes hung loose on his thin body. They were torn and covered in dust. His feet were bare, and the bottoms were black with dirt and covered in tiny cuts. His hair stuck up in messy clumps. His face was smudged with grime. But the worst part wasn't how he looked. It was how he felt inside. Empty, hollow, like someone had scooped out his insides and left only a shell. Cairo clutched an old tin can in his hands. It was dented and rusty, and the label had peeled off long ago. But he held it like it was made of gold, like it was the only thing in the whole world that mattered, because it was all he had left. The house around him was falling apart. Floorboards creaked with every tiny movement. Dust floated in the air, dancing in the thin beams of moonlight that squeezed through the broken windows. Empty cans lay scattered across the floor. Some had been crushed. Some were still whole. Cairo had found them in the garbage behind the big store 3 streets away. He hadn't spoken in so long. He forgot what his voice sounded like. The memories came at night when everything was quiet. Cairo didn't want to come, but they did anyway. They pushed into his mind like unwanted visitors. He remembered the rain. Heavy, pounding rain that drummed on the roof like 1,000 angry fingers. He remembered lying in his small bed, warm under his blanket, listening to his mother hum in the kitchen below. Then he remembered the smell, sharp and bitter. Smoke. "Cairo." His mother's voice had cut through the darkness. Not angry, scared. "Cairo, wake up, baby." He remembered sitting up, confused, rubbing his eyes. Orange light flickered under his bedroom door. Not lamplight, not candlelight, firelight. "Mama," he called out. His door burst open. His mother rushed in, her face tight with fear. She scooped him up in her arms, holding him so close he could feel her heart racing. "Don't look, baby, don't look. Keep your eyes closed." But Cairo looked anyway. Through the gaps in his mother's arms, he saw flames eating the kitchen walls. They moved like living things, climbing and spreading, hungry and fast. His father was there, shouting, throwing water, trying to stop it. But the fire was too strong, too angry. "Get him out," his father yelled. "Get Cairo out now." His mother ran toward the back door, but something crashed behind them. Cairo turned his head. The ceiling, part of the ceiling fell down right where his mother had been standing just seconds before. "No!" his father screamed. Cairo remembered being put down, remembered his mother pushing him toward the door. "Run, Cairo. Run outside." "Mama, no." "Go." He remembered stumbling out into the rain. The cold drops hit his face like tiny stones. He fell in the mud, his pajamas soaking through. He tasted rainwater mixed with ash. His throat burned. Behind him, the house roared and cracked. Smoke poured out every window, thick and black against the night sky. "Mama, Papa." Cairo screamed. He tried to run back inside, but the heat pushed him away like a giant invisible hand. People came. Neighbors. Strangers. They held him back. Someone wrapped a blanket around him. But he couldn't stop shaking. The fire ate everything. His home. His toys. His bed. His parents. When morning came, Cairo was alone. Completely alone. The grown-ups talked in serious voices. They said words like orphan and social services and foster care. But Cairo didn't understand. He just wanted his mama. Someone turned away for just a minute. That's all it took. Cairo ran. He ran through the mud and the ashes. He ran past the burned skeleton of his house. He ran until his legs gave out. And he found himself standing in front of the old abandoned house next door. The house his parents always told him to stay away from. Never go in there, Cairo, his mama used to say. It's not safe. But nothing was safe anymore. Cairo pushed open the broken door and walked inside. The house swallowed him up like a dark mouth, and he never came back out. That was months ago. Maybe more. Cairo didn't know. Time didn't work the same way anymore. Days blurred together. Sometimes he slept. Sometimes he walked in circles around the empty rooms. Sometimes he just sat and stared at nothing. He found food in trash cans when his stomach hurt too much to ignore. Crushed bread that tasted like cardboard. Half-eaten apples turning brown. Once, he found a dented can of beans with the lid already peeled back. He ate them cold with his fingers. But he never left for long, because leaving felt like giving up. Like say his parents were really, truly gone forever. As long as he stayed, some tiny part of him could pretend they might still come back. That his mama might call his name one more time. Cairo, dinner's ready. But she never did. Now, lying on the cold floor with the sounds of the new family outside, Cairo felt more afraid than ever. What if they found him? What if they made him leave? This broken house was all he had. His last hiding place. Outside, Alani looked one more time at the abandoned house. The crying sound had stopped, but she knew what she heard. Someone was in there. Someone who needed help. The morning sun painted everything gold. Malik stepped outside with his coffee mug, breathing in the fresh air. Their new house smelled like paint and hope. A new start for the family. He walked toward the fence, planning to check how much work the yard needed. Then he stopped. His coffee mug froze halfway to his lips. Footprints. Small footprints in the dirt near the fence. Fresh ones. The morning dew was still on them, which meant they were made just hours ago. Maybe even minutes ago. But these weren't dog prints or cat prints. These were human footprints. A child's footprints. Bare feet. Tiny bare feet. Malik's stomach twisted. He looked at the abandoned house next door. Nothing moved. No sounds. Just that heavy silence that made the hair on his arm stand up. "Nora," he called toward the house. "Nora, come here." His wife appeared at the door, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "What's wrong? Look at this." He pointed at the prints. Nora came closer. Her eyes went wide. "Oh my God, those are child's footprints." "I know." They both turned to stare at the old house. It looked even worse in the daylight. More broken, more forgotten, more impossible to live in. "You don't think?" Nora whispered. "I don't know what to think." Alani came running out, still in her pajamas. "See, I told you I heard something." Malik knelt down to his daughter's level. "Alani, honey, I need you to go inside with your mother. Right now." "But Dad." "Now, sweetie, please." Something in his voice made Alani obey. She took her mother's hand, but she kept looking back at the old house. Her heart beat fast with excitement and worry mixed together. Inside the abandoned house, Cairo heard everything. The man's voice, the woman's voice, the girl's voice. They knew. They found his footprints. He made a mistake going outside last night when the moon was bright. He needed water so badly his lips were cracking, and there was a leaky pipe behind their house that dripped into a puddle. Now they knew he was here. Cairo crawled to the corner of the room and made himself as small as possible. Maybe if he was quiet enough, still enough, they would forget about him. Maybe they would think the footprints were old. Maybe they would leave him alone. But deep down, he knew something was about to change. The day passed slowly. Cairo watched through the crack in the wall as the family moved around their yard. The man fixed their fence. The woman planted flowers. The girl played with a ball, but she kept glancing at his house. Always glancing. When evening came, Cairo's stomach hurt so badly he could barely move. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. The last piece of moldy bread was gone. His water bottle was empty. His lips were so dry they bled when he licked them. He closed his eyes and hugged his tin can. Just hold on, he told himself. Just hold on a little longer. But hold on for what? Nothing was coming. Nobody was coming. He was alone. Always alone. That's when he heard it. A soft sound. Footsteps on the porch. Not heavy adult footsteps. Light ones. Careful ones. Cairo's eyes snapped open. His whole body went stiff. The broken door creaked. Someone was coming inside. Hello? A small voice called out. A girl's voice. Alani, is someone here? Cairo stopped breathing. He pressed himself harder against the wall, wishing he could disappear into it. Alani stepped carefully over the broken floorboards. Her eyes adjusted to the darkness. Dust floated everywhere. Empty cans rolled under her feet. The smell was bad, like wet wood and sadness. I know you're here, she said softly. I won't hurt you. I promise. Then she saw him. A small shape curled in the corner. A boy. A little boy with wild hair and dirty clothes. His eyes were huge in his thin face, staring at her like a frightened animal. He clutched something in his hands. A can. An old rusty can. Mom! Alani shouted, her voice cracking. Mom, there's a boy in here. Cairo flinched like she had hit him. He wanted to run, but his legs wouldn't move. He wanted to scream, but his voice was lost somewhere deep inside. Nora came running. When she saw Cairo, her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God! Oh my God, there's a child. Malik. Malik. Within seconds, all three of them were there, standing in the doorway, staring at Cairo. The boy looked terrified. His breathing was fast and shallow. He shook like a leaf in the wind. Malik pulled out his phone. I'm calling. Wait, Nora said, grabbing his arm. Look at him. He's scared to death. If we call people with sirens and strangers, he might run. We don't know what he's been through. Nora, he needs help. Now. I know, but let's just go slow. Please. Malik looked at the boy. Really looked at him. The dirt, the torn clothes, the bare feet with cuts all over them. The desperate way he held that tin can. This child had been surviving alone. For how long? Okay, Malik said quietly. Okay, we go slow. Nora took a deep breath and stepped forward. Cairo pressed harder against the wall. There was nowhere to go. No escape. Hi, sweetie, Nora said in the gentlest voice she could manage. My name is Nora. Can you tell me your name? Cairo's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He tried. He really tried. But the words were stuck. It's okay, Nora said, kneeling down slowly. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. She stayed far enough away that he wouldn't feel trapped, just close enough that he could see her face clearly, her kind eyes, her soft smile. Are you hungry? She asked. Cairo's stomach growled, so loudly everyone heard it. He looked down, ashamed. Alani stepped forward. Wait here. She ran outside and came back a minute later with something in her hand. Bread. Fresh bread from breakfast. She also had a bottle of water. Here, Alani said, holding it out. You can have it. All of it. Cairo stared at the bread. His whole body trembled. He wanted it so badly. But taking it meant what? Trusting them? Needing them? Go ahead, Nora encouraged. It's yours. Slowly, so slowly, Cairo reached out one shaking hand. He still held the tin can in the other hand, refusing to let it go. His fingers touched the bread. It was soft, warm, real. He pulled it back quickly and took a tiny bite. Then another. Then he couldn't stop. He ate like someone who had forgotten what food tasted like. Crumbs fell on his shirt. He didn't care. Alani opened a water bottle and set it near him. Cairo grabbed it and drank so fast water ran down his chin. "Easy, buddy," Malik said softly. "Slow down or you'll get sick." But Cairo couldn't slow down. His body needed this. Needed food. Needed water. Needed something to fill the terrible emptiness inside. When the bread was gone, he licked his fingers. Then he looked up at them. Really looked at them for the first time. They weren't yelling. They weren't grabbing him. They weren't trying to take his kin away. They were just sitting there, watching him with worried faces. "What's your name?" Alani asked again, sitting down on the dusty floor across from him. Cairo opened his mouth. His throat felt rusty and tight. Speaking hurt. But something about the way they looked at him made him want to try. "Sisikaro," he whispered. His voice sounded like broken glass. "Cairo," Nora repeated, smiling. "That's a beautiful name." Cairo's eyes filled with tears. Nobody had said his name in so long. Hearing it out loud made something crack open inside his chest. Something that hurt and felt good at the same time. "Cairo, do you live here all alone?" Nora asked gently. He nodded. "Where are your parents, sweetheart?" Cairo looked down at his tin can. His fingers traced the dented metal. "Gone," he whispered. "Fire. They're gone." Nora's heart broke. She wanted to scoop this boy up and hold him tight, but she knew better. He was like a wild bird with a broken wing. One wrong move and he'd panic. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice thick. "I'm so sorry." They sat in silence for a long moment. The sun was setting outside, sending long shadows across the floor. Finally, Alani spoke up. "Cairo, do you want to come to our house? Just for tonight? We have food, and a bathtub, and warm blankets." Cairo looked at her, then at her parents, then at the door. His mind raced. Leave this place? Leave the last spot where he felt close to his mama and papa? But he was so tired, so hungry, so cold. And these people, they weren't mean. They didn't hurt him. They gave him bread. Cairo's hand moved before his brain could stop it. He reached out and touched Alani's sleeve. Just a light touch. A question without words. Alani smiled. "Yeah, come on. I'll show you." And for the first time in months, Cairo stood up. His legs wobbled. He still held his tin can tight, but he took a step forward. Then another, following the girl with the kind smile out of the darkness and into the light. Cairo's bare feet touched the grass between the two houses. It felt strange, soft and cool and alive. He hadn't felt grass in so long. He had forgotten things could feel good. Alani walked slowly in front of him, looking back every few steps to make sure he was still following. She smiled each time their eyes met. Small smiles, gentle ones, the kind that said, "You're safe? I promise." Nora and Malik walked on either side of Cairo, but not too close. They understood. This little boy needed space, needed to feel like he could run if he wanted to, even though they hoped with all their hearts he wouldn't. When they reached the porch steps, Cairo stopped. His hand squeezed a tin can so hard his knuckles turned white. The house in front of him was bright. Through the windows, he could see lights glowing warm and yellow. It looked so different from the dark, broken place he'd been living in. "It's okay," Alani said, holding out her hand. "You don't have to be scared." Cairo looked at her hand for a long time. Taking it meant something. It meant trusting. It meant letting someone in. And letting someone in meant they could leave. They could disappear like his mama and papa did. But his legs were so tired, and the house looked so warm. He took her hand. Her fingers were small and warm around his cold ones. She led him up the steps and to the front door. Inside, Cairo's eyes went wide. The house smelled like food. Real food cooking somewhere. The floors were clean. There were soft couches and bright pictures on the walls. A lamp in the corner glowed like a tiny sun. It looked like his old house, the one before the fire, the one where his mama would sing while cooking dinner, and his papa would lift him up to touch the ceiling. Cairo's chest hurt with the memory. "Let's get you cleaned up first," Nora said softly. "Come with me, sweetheart." She led Cairo down a hallway to the bathroom. It was small but clean, with blue tiles and a big white bathtub. Nora turned on the water, testing it with her hand until it was just right. Not too hot, not too cold. Perfect. "I'll leave you some clean clothes right outside the door," she said. "Take as long as you need. Okay? And Cairo, you can lock the door if you want. Nobody will come in. You're safe here." Cairo nodded. When Nora left, he did lock the door. Then he just stood there, staring at the bathtub filling with clean, clear water. Steam rose up like tiny ghosts. He set his tin can carefully on the sink counter. For the first time in months, he let it go. Then he took off his dirty, torn clothes and stepped into the water. The warmth hit him like a hug. Cairo's whole body relaxed. He sank down until the water covered his shoulders. The dirt on his skin turned the water gray, but he didn't care. He closed his eyes and remembered his mama giving him baths when he was little. How she'd wash his hair and make funny shapes with the bubbles. How she'd wrap him in a big towel afterward and call him her little prince. Tears mixed with the bathwater. But these tears felt different. Not empty like before. These tears felt like something breaking open inside him. Something that had been frozen for too long. When Cairo finally got out, he dried himself with the fluffy towel Nora had left. The clean clothes were soft. A blue t-shirt and gray pants that were a little too big. But they were warm, and they smelled like flowers. He picked up his tin can and held it close to his chest. Then he unlocked the door. Alani was waiting in the hallway. "You look different," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Come on, Mom made soup." In the kitchen, a big pot steamed on the stove. The smell made Cairo's stomach growl again. Nora ladled soup into a bowl and set it on the table. There was also bread with butter and a glass of milk so white it looked like snow. "Sit anywhere you want," Nora said. Cairo climbed onto a chair, still holding his can. He set it on the table next to his bowl. He picked up the spoon, but his hand shook so badly the soup almost spilled. "Take your time," Malik said gently, sitting across from him. "Nobody's going to take it away." Cairo took a sip. The soup was warm and tasted like vegetables and kindness. He took another sip, then another. Before he knew it, the bowl was empty. "More?" Nora asked. Cairo nodded, surprised. There was more? There was always more? She filled his bowl again. This time, Cairo ate slower. He watched the family eating together, talking softly, passing bread back and forth. This was what families did. He remembered now. This normal, beautiful thing he thought he'd never have again. After dinner, Alani showed Cairo around the house. She showed him her toys, her books, her stuffed animals. She talked a lot, but it was okay. Her voice was happy, and it filled up the quiet spaces that used to scare Cairo so much. When bedtime came, Nora appeared with extra blankets and a pillow. "Alani, is it okay if Cairo sleeps in your room tonight? Just until we figure everything out?" "Yes." Alani jumped up and down. "He can sleep right here." She pointed to a spot on the floor next to her bed. "Actually," Nora said, "I was thinking we could make him a real bed. How about we push these two bean bags together and put blankets on top?" Together, they made a small, cozy sleeping spot right beside Alani's bed. It wasn't fancy, but it looked soft and safe. Nora added 3 blankets and the fluffiest pillow from her own bed. "There," she said, smiling at Cairo. "Your bed, for tonight and for as many nights as you need." Cairo stared at the bed. His eyes burned with tears again. A real bed, with blankets, with a pillow, in a room with another person, so he wouldn't be alone in the dark. "Thank you," he whispered. The words felt rusty coming out, but they were real. "You're welcome, sweetheart," Nora said. She wanted so badly to hug him, but she held back. "Good night, Cairo. Sleep well." "Good night, Mom." Alani called as Nora closed the door most of the way, leaving it open just a crack so light from the hallway spilled in. Cairo climbed onto his new bed. The blankets were so soft. The pillow smelled clean and fresh. He lay down carefully, like he was afraid it might disappear if he moved too fast. He placed his tin can on the floor, right next to the pillow. clothes enough to touch. His bridge between the old world and this new one. Cairo, Alani whispered from her bed above him. Yeah, I'm really glad you came with us. I'm glad we found you. Cairo's throat felt tight. Me too, he whispered back. They lay in silence for a while. Cairo stared at the ceiling. There were glow-in-the-dark stars up there, glowing soft green in the darkness. Like tiny pieces of hope scattered across the night. He thought about his mama and papa, about the fire, about all the dark, lonely days in the abandoned house. Part of him felt guilty for being here, in this warm place with these kind people, like he was forgetting his parents somehow. But then he remembered something his mama used to say. Cairo, baby, if something ever happens to me and your papa, you find people who are kind. You let them love you. That's what we'd want. For you to be loved and safe. Always. Maybe she knew. Maybe somehow she knew this would happen, and she was telling him it was okay. It was okay to trust again. It was okay to let people in. Cairo, Alani whispered again. Yeah. Can I hold your hand? Just until we fall asleep? Cairo hesitated. Then slowly, he reached his hand up. Alani's hand reached down. Their fingers found each other in the darkness and held on tight. I won't let go, Alani promised. Not until you're asleep. Cairo closed his eyes. For the first time since the night of the fire, he felt something he thought was gone forever. Safe. His breathing slowed. His body relaxed into the soft blankets. The fear that lived in his chest every single day started to shrink, just a little bit, not gone completely. Maybe it would never be completely gone, but smaller, quieter. In the hallway outside, Nora and Malik stood listening. They heard the children's breathing slow and steady. What are we going to do? Malik whispered. Nora wiped tears from her eyes. We're going to keep him. We're going to love him. We're going to make sure he never feels alone again. What about? We'll figure out. Lawyers, social services, whatever it takes. But that little boy is staying here. He's already been through too much. He's not going back to being alone. Not ever. Malik pulled his wife close. You're amazing, you know that? So are you. Inside the room, Cairo drifted into sleep. Real sleep. Deep sleep. The kind where dreams come back. And in his dreams, his mama was smiling. His papa was laughing. And they were both saying the same thing. We love you, Cairo. We'll always love you. Now go be happy. Go live. When morning came, sunlight streamed to the window and painted everything gold. Cairo woke up slowly, confused for a moment. Where was he? This wasn't the cold, dark floor of the abandoned house. Then he remembered. He was home. Not his old home, but a new one, a safe one. His tin can was still beside his pillow. But this morning, it didn't feel quite as important. It was still special, still his connection to before. But now there were other things too, like the soft blanket covering him, like Alani's stuffed bear that had somehow ended up next to his pillow, like the smell of pancakes coming from the kitchen downstairs. Cairo, Alani's sleepy voice came from above. You awake? Yeah. Want to go get breakfast? Cairo sat up and looked around the bright room. Through the window, he could see the old abandoned house next door. It looked smaller now, less scary. Just a house, not a prison. Yeah, Cairo said again, and this time his voice was stronger. I want breakfast. Alani climbed down from her bed and held out her hand. Cairo took it without hesitating this time. Together, they walked downstairs. Together, they sat at the kitchen table. Together. They ate pancakes with syrup while Nora and Malik smiled and talked about their plans for the day. And Cairo realized something important, something that made his heart feel full instead of empty. He wasn't alone anymore. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever again. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and share it with someone who needs hope today. Subscribe to our channel for more stories about courage, kindness, and second chances. Your support helps us share Cairo's story and stories like his with the world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. And remember, there's always hope, even in the darkest places.